Hey everybody, Eric Goodman here from Foundation Training. I've always wanted to make a scoliosis simple exercise video to introduce you to how simple it is to make, relatively impactful changes to the symptoms of scoliosis. And I'm here with my friend Josh Holland to help you do that because Josh is an athletic, big, strong guy who happens to have a pretty solid scoliosis.
Yeah, so my name is Josh Holland, and I became familiar with the foundation training principles years ago when I read the first book. And as a fitness trainer, health coach, quote unquote movement specialist, it's always been something that I had been looking for to kind of help undo my scoliosis or to mitigate any of the damaging effects down the line as best I can. And as I started to dive more into working with Eric and Jesse and some of the others, I realized, wow, I still have more that I can do. So I was excited to have you take me through what it would be like to try to correct or to help improve my situation.
I love it.
And this is going to be like a real time sort of like first or second time going through some of the foundation training for scoliosis. So I'm excited to get feeling better, moving better.
Yeah, this is real world. This is what would happen if you came to me with a mild functional scoliosis. Nothing major. You don't necessarily need surgery, but you do need to maintain as much strength and alignment as possible. This is what we're going to do, and this is what I would be asking you to do on a daily basis at the bare minimum. All right, Josh, I think we're ready to get into some exercises. You good to go?
I'm good.
All right, let's get that shirt off, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so spin around. What you're going to see on Josh's back here is you're going to see two pinnacles of the scoliosis. You got a little bit one right here and kind of the primary angle right in here. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they look at a scoliosis is they look at the scoliosis instead of the platform that is affecting the scoliosis. And the pelvis has so much to do with kind of anchoring and stabilizing the spine that it absolutely has to do with scoliotic changes as well. One of the first things I'm going to have you do, Josh, so they've seen what this looked like, let's spin around, let's go front on, and let's just do basic measuring sticks, okay? Thumbs at the ribs, pinkies at the pelvis. The point of this is to initiate a lift and then an expansion around the curvature. So I want you to look at the front of his body first. The front and back of the body are basically mirrors. You're going to see curves in muscles. You're going to see subtle changes in the abdomen, subtle changes in the shoulders and pecs. So we're going to affect those changes by stretching, but we're not going to stretch like this. We're going to stretch with our breath. So each inhalation is going to spread the tissue here. So I'm pointing at the chest and the shoulder, and we're going to lengthen that tissue with an inhale. So go ahead and do that for me. Perfect. Now on the exhale, I just want you to focus on keeping the back of the ribs right between the shoulder blades just as wide as you can. All right, nothing more. The inhale is going to again spread the front of the chest. And what we're doing with all of this is we're just creating space for the eventual muscle contractions we're going to be leveraging and calling upon from the deeper muscles of the spine. Keep the ribs lifting right over here, right where you feel that shelf from the ribs to the abdomen. Lift that up really big and keep maintaining that. Sometimes what I'll have patients do when they're first learning this is I'll have you very actively lift. So put your whole hand on the belly and the ribs and use your shoulders and biceps and lats and everything and really lift the rib cage, lift. Now what I'm not having him do is extend his spine as he lifts. So if you look at the back of him, so turn just a little bit in that position, we're not diving his spine forward by leveraging the ribs. You see the difference there? Do that again. It's not an extension. Pay close attention to that. When you lift the rib cage, you're lifting the back of the rib cage as well, and that's a very challenging thing to do. I'm not so worried about the feet yet. I'm not even so worried about the head position yet. The first couple minutes of scoliotic change needs to be made front to back with length. So we're just lifting up the rib cage and supporting an axial expansive breath to the best of our ability. I don't want you to fill your belly yet. I don't want you to fill your lower abdomen with air. I want you to keep it lean and tight as you expand the upper rib cage. You've got a whole bunch of bones that insert to a whole bunch of bones on your spine. You've got a pair of ribs at each level, and then you've got vertebrae that are in between that pair of ribs. That's 3 opportunities to move at every single level of the vertebra here, okay? The inhalation, for all intents and purposes, if you have a functional scoliosis, your inhalation, as often as possible, should try to expand the rib cage out away from center. Your exhalation should be a contraction of the abdomen. So what we're going to work on now with Josh is the transversus abdominis contraction during the exhale, okay? So the inhalation of foundation training, decompression breathing of any kind is going to be get the rib cage out of the way. The exhalation is like you now have a shelf at the diaphragm. So I want you to take a deep breath in. Take your time. Perfect. Now before you exhale, try to exhale without putting any air out. Just a little right there. All right? Kind of like a weightlifting contraction, but more focused at the diaphragm level than at the full abdomen level. And now, as you exhale, just do it again. As you exhale, I know I talked a lot on that one. We're going to try to get your belly in without the rib cage collapsing down. So let's see what that looks like. There you go. Let's do another one. Really focus on the big expansive breath right between the shoulder blades. People love to squeeze their shoulder blades together, and they love to squeeze their glutes together. Those two squeezes probably impact more scoliosis than most. Okay? So we're going to relax the glute tissue, and we're going to start to angle those feet in, but we're not going to change the breathing pattern yet. We're going to start to leverage the muscles that are at the base of the pelvis, the bottom of the pelvis, as a counter pulley to the muscles of the rib cage that are pulling up. So you'll notice that Josh now has his feet internally rotated just a little bit. We're going to press the outside edges of your foot into the ground, and then you're going to reach with the big toes to kind of cinch the foot inward. And it should almost start to feel like the groin muscles, the arch muscles are pulling to the center of the pelvis. The bottom of your pelvis is called your pubic symphysis. It's where the two hemispheres join together. Think of everything from the arches and the inner legs pulling towards that pubic symphysis. And then the front of the rib cage pulls up a little bit as the back of the rib cage pulls up a lot. And that is your now expansive axial breath. So we're going to just use this. Now we're getting a little bit better at decompression breathing. We're getting a little bit better at recruiting the tissue that surrounds the ribs. Keeping the feet exactly as they are. I want you to just keep that rib cage lifted and just draw your hips back about 3 to 4 inches into a hip hinge. That's plenty. We're going to work now with the back of the thoracic spine. So I'm going to have you change your angle. Just show them, kind of pay attention to what's happening at the front here. You're going to pull your elbows apart just a little bit more to make sure you're not squeezing the shoulder blades. But now I want you to hold that same position and just reverse so they can see your spine for a moment. Okay. So it's a subtle hip hinge. You're sticking your butt out. You're pushing the rib cage apart. And what we're looking for is length right here. This curve wants to tilt. And the best way to stop that tilt is to pull the bottom of the spine down and the top of the spine up so that it elongates the longest portion at the thoracic spine. This hip hinge is going to challenge the back of the body here. It's going to challenge the multifidi. Now, you can still see quite a bit of the curvature here. And I want you to take your left arm and reach it forward to my hand and start to draw the hips back just a little bit more and just straight back, straight back, straight back. Pay attention to how we can start to change the thoracic spine with wide breathing and a hip hinge with one arm forward. This becomes a little bit diagnostic, and every single scoliosis that you're going to feel, everyone you treat as a doctor, everyone you feel as a patient is going to be different. For this one in particular, we're going to work with a lot of lat length. Let's bring that right arm forward to meet the left. And what you can do here now, when you're with a practitioner, it's a little bit different. If you're doing this at home, I want you to do the best that you can. But you're going to try to even out the pressure through your heels, pushing your feet down into the floor. If this is a hard position, you could always use a chair. I'm going to pop this in front of Josh just so you can see what the prop would look like. But he can just put his hands right to the back of that chair there. That's perfectly fine. He's taking all the weight behind his heels. The focus is this: the legs pressing into the ground and squeezing towards each other so that the pubic symphysis, the base of the pelvis, is steady and pulled down. The challenge of the posterior chain muscles being expanded by the challenge of the rib cage breath. We're going to start to challenge the left side of the rib cage to open a little bit more. And you're going to start to see this curvature shift just a little bit. So Josh, where you feel me press, we're going to start to kind of open. There you go. Good. As you exhale, keep this big. You got it. Pull the shoulder joints apart and pull the head through the shoulders. It's going to start to get a little challenging here for a couple seconds. When we find a little bit more congruency in the spine, so we're going to lift this part of the rib cage out this way. Big chest breath right here, right there. Good, good. Pull the chin back from right there, and now take the weight off of your hands into your heels. Right there. And I want you to hold that. You'll find a couple shaky spots. When you get into the position, that finds the weaker tissue, you're going to tremble, you're going to shake. These are not meant to be easy. If there's one thing I know about scoliosis, it's really hard to change scoliosis. It's an everyday practice. Press the heels into the ground. You're about 4 or 5 minutes into this pose now, so you should be fatiguing, and you only got about a minute left. The last minute, I want you to feel right where I'm pushing my hands on Josh's floating ribs here, the lowest ribs, and I want you to push those out of the way for 5 breaths. Josh is a big, strong guy, and he's shaking right now. So if you're trying this at home and you're shaking, you should be. Breathe as big as you can, big as you can, big as you can. And this is the only hinge-based exercise we're going to do. Give me about 20 more seconds. Pull the shoulders back and wide, wide, wide. Pull the chin back, 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 back. And now the leveraging the way up is the most important thing here. You're going to use the medial hamstrings to lift and leverage the torso up by pressing the heels down and just like a crane, leveraging the torso up. Perfect. So there's no shift in the spine as you leverage up. Shake that out, take a couple deep breaths, and relax for a moment. I know it's difficult, but that was good. That was a good start.
It's a workout.
It's a workout, man. So, and I love doing this with people that aren't super proficient at the work. This is a relatively new thing for you, and it's a little bit advanced, but you're doing a good job, and I want to show people you don't have to know everything about the work to get it right. You just have to kind of listen for the intricacies, find the weak points in your body, and do everything you can to strengthen and expand upon those weak points. And that's all scoliosis is. There's a couple weak points that have kind of bowed in or converged or concaved a little bit. And we're just going to teach them to lengthen, stabilize the muscle. Lengthen, stabilize the muscle. So with that idea, the next moves are lunge-based, and they're all about going up. All right, it's all about going up. Let's go left foot forward, right foot back. Good. You can be in like a walking stride, like you're going to take a long step, you know, and just stop there. The key here is that the hips are square. Perfect. The back heel is just a bit up off the ground. The front foot is really powerfully pressing into the ground, and you're taking the back of your skull as high up as you possibly can, almost like it's taking another inch into your height. Really lift until you feel like the legs start to pull together. When you're lifting so high up that your legs begin to pull together, your pelvis is very anchored, it's very stabilized. The more stable the pelvis, the more change we can make in scoliosis at the spine level. Bring your arms forward like you're gonna fire a shot, almost like at Paul, straight over him, a little higher up, right there. So there's a tug of war that's gonna happen between the middle fingers touching in the front here and the bottom of the shoulder blades reaching back, okay? Now, that gapping is not gonna happen here in shoulder protraction. It's going to happen here as the ribs lift with every breath, lengthening the abdomen. Yep, good. Let's do 2 breaths like that. Good. On the next inhale, fire the lats by pinching paper between the shoulders there, like Jesse always tells. Perfect. The stronger the lats, the more space you're going to have protected in the rib cage for healthy, accurate breathing. So once those lats are engaged in this position, you're lifting up, you're pinching a piece of paper between your shoulders and armpit, and you're breathing right into the shoulder blades now. The tug of war is right here and right at the pinnacle of your thoracic spine, moving away from each other under the guidance of powerful lats. So if I were to try to lift your arms up, I can't. Not at all. And feel how strong this breath is when you take it in. Now leverage the back of that skull and feel how everything kind of leverages up. When I let go, stay right here and feel the legs contract inward and hold. So now you have a tug of war, the base of the pelvis pulling down, the top of the ribs pulling up, and that's how we ultimately create space for angle changes. And very often you'll get a nice little auto adjustment in there because alignment loves to be pulled apart, not pressed together. Okay? Let's go ahead and switch legs. Shake it off a little bit. And feel free, like, tell people what you're feeling by all means, because they're going to be wondering.
I'm starting to perspire, which is good. And, you know, it's very subtle work, but holding these poses, I've seen some of the streaming content, and I've tried to go through some of those, and I admit that a lot of times I can't even get through all of it, but it just shows that there is a level to it.
There's a level.
You know, so yeah. I hope to be able to continue doing all of it.
You'll get there, man, no question. You're a strong guy, and strong people, when you have some existing muscle condition, you're going to learn the work very quickly, and it's going to get very hard very quickly, because ultimately foundation training is about the muscle pulleys pulling against each other. If you're already strong, you're going to be shaky and sweaty and tired pretty quickly. Go ahead and switch your leg position. So right leg forward, left leg back, and again, the back heel is up off the ground a little bit. The whole purpose of this lunge stance for a scoliotic patient is press the feet into the ground, and as if you're separated in 2 parts. The torso is pulling away from the hips as far as it can, while the hips press into the ground as hard as they can, straight through the feet.
And the straight pelvis is
Yeah.
a good cue for me.
No, for everybody. Straighten your pelvis, and literally, you see Josh's hands there. Kind of give a little inward rotation at the hips and feel that stability. But then it's all about straight up and down, leveraged from the back of the skull, right there. Perfect. So you should feel these front neck muscles engaging, trying to help you lift with every breath. So let's do a breath like that. See them engage? There you go, right there. You got it. Now use that engagement to assist the lift of the torso. You got it. Okay, the arm's gonna go forward. Now the purpose of the arms going forward here is, again, there's a tug of war from the front of the middle finger to the back of the ribs, all right? And it's not the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are not squeezing together. They're getting pushed apart, but the lats are engaged. So I'm trying to push your elbows up hard, like 20, 30 pounds of pressure, and the lat muscles are what are keeping that down. There you go. When I let go, stay right there. And it's a density breath. Density, front to back density. The front of the chest pushing the back of the ribs out of the way. One of the really wonderful things that a lot of people learned during the unfortunate time of coronavirus is that the lungs are in the back of the ribs mostly. The lung tissue is larger behind your head, more volume for air, more volume for chemical respiration than in front of your head. And here's the thing. The fastest way to improve scoliosis long term is to do axial expansion at the ribs, axial expansion at the vertebra, a little bit every single day for the rest of your life. That's the way symptoms work as we get older. You do a little bit every day and you get a lot of benefit. Shake that off a little bit.
I felt that one the most.
Yeah?
Especially on this side, yeah.
Good. You're gonna notice, without question, asymmetry side to side.
Wow.
Something I love to tell people, and this isn't my quote, this is a quote that I got from Tim Brown and Tim got it from somebody else, but the body is not designed to be symmetrical. The body is designed to respond to asymmetries. We are reflexive, and we are not perfectly congruent. So if you notice those little twists and turns, feed into them, feel them, get more and more sensitive at your body, and you might just notice that sensitivity ultimately is the fix to your symptoms. Cool?
Oh, yeah.
Right on, man. Keep going. Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Thank
All right.
you.
I hope it helps y'all.